You can hear it before you even realise you're listening. That haunting lilt rising from somewhere deep in the past. A young voice asks, "O Father dear, I oft times hear you talk of Erin's Isle, her lofty scenes and valleys green, her mountains rude and wild. They say it is a pretty place wherein a prince might dwell, and why did you abandon it, the reason to me tell?" And the answer comes, quiet, heavy, and full of loss. Not just personal grief, but the grief of an entire people. "My son, I loved our native land with energy and pride. Until a blight came on my land, my sheep and cattle died. The rent and taxes were to pay, I could not them redeem. And that's the cruel reason why I left old Skibbereen." Most versions you'll hear today carry a slow, mournful air, but that wasn't always the case. Originally, it was sung to the tune of "The Wearing of the Green," a melody of defiance. Over time, the tone softened, but the story never did. The song Skibbereen is one of the most famous examples of traditional Irish songs about emigration, along with other songs like "Boys from the County Mayo" and "The Fields of Athenry" most famously. It is believed to have been written by Patrick Carpenter, a poet from Skibbereen, who emigrated to the United States. He wrote for publications in Boston and New York, and the song was first published in Boston in 1869 in a songbook called The Wearing of the Green Songbook, and this is according to skibbereen.ie. While some sources suggest it might be a traditional ballad collected in County Tyrone, according to Wikipedia, but the most accepted attribution is to Patrick Carpenter. The song is a poignant piece about the Great Famine and the impact it had on the people of Skibbereen and Ireland as well. But Skibbereen was one of the most affected areas, with between 8,000 and 10,000 people dead. Skibbereen is not only a song, it's a wound set to a melody, a conversation between a father and son, between generations split by exile. The father speaks of loving his homeland with pride, only to see it crushed by famine, rent, and taxes, and finally by the ruthless hand of eviction. He paints a picture of a country not just starving, but simmering with rebellion brewing in the hedgerows. So now we know the style of the song. It's a dialogue between a father and his son, and we know the backdrop as well. A homeland devastated by famine, a people broken by poverty, and a man forced to flee not just because of hunger, but as well because he stood up and he resisted.
Oh, son, I loved my native land with energy and pride. Till a blight came and ruined my crops, my sheep and cattle died, and the rent and taxes were so high I could not them redeem, and that's the cruel reason why I left old Skibbereen.
Now let's have a wee look at that resistance. Let's focus in on the rebellion that he mentions, because if we understand what happened in 1848, we can understand why he can't go back and why he speaks of Ireland with such deep, aching pride. Now in the song itself, there's a powerful moment near the end where the father says he fought with the boys of 48. It's "Well I do remember the year of 48, when I arose with Erin's boys to battle against the fate. I was hunted through the mountains like a traitor to the Queen, and that's another reason why I left old Skibbereen." This isn't just a throwaway line, he's talking about the Young Islander Rebellion of 1848. This isn't a rebellion you hear much about these days, but it was a fiery, desperate stand made in one of the darkest moments of Irish history, right in the jaws of the Great Famine. So what was the Young Islander Rebellion? Well, it was basically Ireland's answer to a wave of revolutions sweeping across Europe at the time. France had booted out its king, the Germans were stirring, and the Hungarians were on the march. And here in Ireland, people were starving, being evicted, and watching their country rot under British rule. So yeah, it lit a fire. The group behind it all? A movement called Young Ireland, led by fellas like William Smith O'Brien, Thomas Francis Meagher, and John Mitchell. These lads were fed up with Daniel O'Connell's peaceful route to repeal. They wanted a free Ireland, and they weren't afraid to raise a flag for it. But wait till you hear this. It was during a visit to France that Thomas Meagher brought back the Irish tricolour, the one that we still see flying around today. green for Catholics, orange for Protestants, and white for peace between them. It was first flown in Waterford, Mar's hometown. Wild to think that a symbol of hope and unity came out of a time when the country was literally falling apart. Anyway, in July 1848, the British government got spooked and suspended habeas corpus. Basically, what did this mean? It meant they could lock you up for breathing too loud. They even made up a brand new crime called treason felony, just to crack down on lads like Mitchell. Seriously, they made it up out of nowhere. The legal equivalent of you looked at me funny, off to jail with you. So, O'Brien and the others raised a ragtag force, miners, farmers, tradesmen, and headed to Ballingarry in Tipperary, where they made their last stand at a farmhouse owned by Mrs. Margaret McCormick. This is where things get properly cinematic. The police holed up inside her house, taking her kids hostage, and pointed their rifles out the windows. O'Brien walked up to the window and said, "We're all Irishmen. Give up your guns and you can go." But do you know what happened? One of the police fired through the window at O'Brien while he was trying to negotiate. Absolute chaos followed. People hiding behind walls, bullets flying, and the rebels completely underprepared. Some were even women and children. The fight, if you can even call it that, lasted a few hours. When reinforcements showed up for the police, the rebels scattered. And that was it. The whole rebellion fell apart in Widow McCormick's cabbage patch. The consequences were brutal. John Mitchell was sentenced to transportation, first to Ireland Island in Bermuda, and then all the way to Van Diemen's Land in Australia, modern-day Tasmania. Think about that for a minute. 1 second, you're in a potato field in Tipperary. Next, you're breaking rocks on the edge of the world. Others like Mar and O'Brien followed him there after being captured, but a few managed to escape, James Stephens and John O'Mahony among them. And here's the twist of all twists. Mar and Mitchell both ended up in America later, but they ended up fighting on opposite sides of the American Civil War. Mar led the Irish Brigade for the Union, while Mitchell supported the Confederacy and even sent his sons to fight for the South. Same goal in Ireland, opposite sides in America. Mad. Stephens and O'Mahony, they weren't done either. They set up the Fenian Brotherhood in the United States, and later founded the Irish Republican Brotherhood back home. That organisation would eventually spark the 1916 Easter Rising decades later. So when that father in Skibbereen says he fought with the boys of 48, he's not just telling a war story. He's remembering a time when young idealistic men tried against famine, British guns, and history itself to light a spark for Irish freedom. And that spark, well, it didn't catch fire in 1848, but it smouldered, and it would burn again. So the next time you hear Skibbereen, you'll know. It's not just a sad tune from long ago. It's a story passed down in song, carrying the heartbreak, the rage, and the hope of a people who refuse to forget. One father's pain became a nation's memory, and even now, it still sings. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more stories behind songs like this, and anything related to Irish music, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon there so you don't miss the next one. And I want to give a shout out to McDaddy123 who left this comment over here on one of my other videos there, suggesting to do a video for Skibbereen. So thanks very much. Keep the suggestions coming, everyone, because I'll definitely work on more videos for you if you suggest some down in the comments. Also, if you want to support the channel and show your love for Irish music and culture, check out the Inside Irish Music shop. There's a link in the description. You'll find our first release of hats, Crach Agus Ceol, in a range of colours with 10% off your full order. We've also got some designs on the way for the likes of mugs and t-shirts coming in soon in collaboration with a respected Irish artist. So keep an eye on the shop there. There's plenty more on the way. Slán go fóill. Cheers.